Let us now settle into a spirit of worship with a moment of silence to be followed by the music of James Taylor with Shower the People. I invite my friend Joe Jencks to light our chalice while I read words that resonate with me as they resonated with my mother, who shared them with me. In our most trivial walks, we are constantly, though unconsciously, steering like pilots by certain well-known beacons and headlands. If we go beyond our usual course, we still carry in our minds the bearing of some neighboring cape. Not till we are completely lost or turned around do we appreciate the vastness and strangeness of nature. Everyone has to learn the points of a compass as often as we awake, whether from sleep or abstraction. Not till we are lost. In other words, not till we have lost the world do we begin to find ourselves and realize where we are and the infinite extent of our relations.
Frank, I'm sorry I unplugged earlier. You might want to mute this channel for a moment. All right. On the trois, there we are. Good morning. What a pleasure to be back with this community in this sanctuary and share space and time with you on this beautiful Sunday morning that is much colder than I thought it would be when I first woke up. I saw the sun and was very hopeful for a late winter, early spring day, and then we stepped outside and discovered it was still winter. I wrote this song in the first week of pandemic lockdown. I had a big concert at Cafe Lena in Saratoga Springs that was my first broadcast event. I'm sorry, Frank, could you bring this back up? It feels like the vocal just got throttled back again, and I need to not have to eat the microphone here. Or if there's some compression on it, if you could make sure that you're removing any compression so that it's not automatically adjusting my volume, that'd be great. Thank you. So I wrote this song knowing that I would be singing to a lot of people who were unclear about what was going to happen next. It feels strangely familiar 5 years later. I will greet the morning, I will greet the day, I will greet the evening, love will guide my way. The sun goes down, the sun comes up, the earth goes round, and I fill my cup with the goodness all around me. I know love will guide my way. I will greet the morning, I will greet the day, I will greet the day, I'll greet the evening, I will greet the evening, love will guide my way. The money comes and the money goes, I count my blessings, count my woes, but the kindness all around me grows. Love will guide my way. I'll greet the morning, I will greet the morning, I will greet the day, I will greet the day, I will greet the eve. Love will guide my way, love will guide my way. Through broken hearts and broken bones, by internet or mobile phones, through gentle or impassioned tones, love will guide my way. I will greet the morning, I will greet the day, I will greet the day, greet the evening, I will greet the evening, love will guide my way. In times of joy and sadness, in times of fear or gladness, through apocalyptic madness, I know love will guide my way. I will greet the morning, greet the day, I will greet the day, I will greet the evening, love will guide my way. So put your hands up to the rafters, sing and shout with laughter. If hope is what you're after, I know love will guide the way. I will greet the morning, I will greet the day, I will greet the day, greet the evening, I will greet the evening, love will guide my way. I will greet the morning, I will greet the day, I will greet the evening, love will guide my way. I will greet the evening, love will guide my way. Through whatever else may happen, I know love will guide the way.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. My name is Maura Rouse. I am one of your worship associates this morning. We begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people, who survive and remain active as the Nipmuc tribe. We offer a special welcome to newcomers and online visitors this morning. We are delighted that you're here. We hope that you will join us in Fellowship Hall down this way following the service for refreshments and conversation. If you want more information about our services or any of the ministries or programs of this congregation, just ask. Please fill out one of the cards in the pews, and you can place it in the plate when the offertory is taken, or you can hand it to an usher or greeter, and that would help us communicate with you going forward. For those of you joining us online, and for safety purposes, please place your name in the video feed. Take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that are now beginning to circulate or already circulating. Though you are not obliged to sign in, we appreciate the information and will use it only for church purposes. Following today's reflection, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like to have yours read aloud, write it on a card and put it in that offertory plate. Although I think that happens later. Anyway, you'll figure it out. Sorry, thinking too much. If you would like yours to be read aloud, you did that. These cards can also be posted outside the minister's office, and we'll share those with other friends. For those of you online, type your joy or sorrow in the chat, preceded by please read, and we will share it here. In the foyer are listening devices and large print service programs and hymnals. If you need those, please see one of our ushers to assist you. I now have great pleasure to invite you to turn your technology to worship mode because you're busy. Finally, please note the announcements that are on the back of your order of service. There will be a time at the end of the service for short verbal announcements. We're very glad you're here, and it gives me pleasure to introduce Joe Jencks, who has a long history with our congregation and with our minister and with our music director. He came here first time, how many years ago now, Joe?
I think it was 23 years ago.
And I believe we were between music directors, and I had the pleasure of working with the music director search committee and inviting Joe to come play here, and, well, the rest is just history.
If you would please read with me these opening words found on the flip side of the order of service. These words from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. One of the great liabilities of history is that all too many people fail to remain awake through great periods of social change. Every society has its protectors of status quo and its fraternities of the indifferent, who are notorious for sleeping through revolutions. Today, our very survival depends upon our ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, to remain vigilant, and to face the challenge of change. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in the opening hymn, number 159, This Is My Song. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. What other ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and the skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
At this time, I want to call forward our basket bearers. Each week, these participants in our religious exploration program collect change that is contributed to our congregation's emergency fund. If you would like to contribute your change this morning, raise your hand and one of our basket bearers will seek you out. We thank you so much for your contributions to this important ministry. I now invite David Showalter up. Come on over, Dave.
Up is good, actually. Up is apropos. Good morning. Wicked is a musical fantasy film based on the Broadway show which reimagines the story of the Wizard of Oz from the perspective of Elphaba, the misunderstood, green-skinned young woman who becomes the Wicked Witch of the West. As she befriends the popular Glinda at She's University, their contrasting personalities and political beliefs lead them on diverging paths, with Elphaba ultimately defying the corrupt wizard's regime. The story explores themes of friendship, prejudice, and the consequences of standing up for what is right. But I'm sure those are not familiar themes with anybody in this room. Finally, at the end of the film, embracing her true power, Elphaba learns to take flight and defy gravity, freeing herself from the constraints of others' expectations. And that, my friends, is exactly what we must do to meet our very aggressive pledge target of $326,000 this year. Tomorrow, you should receive an email from UUCW with the formal announcement to our pledge drive and with instructions for how to pledge. Please check your spam folder if you don't see it by the end of the day, because it might be there. You can also pledge by simply going to the UUCW website under the Donate tab and pledging. But I do want to thank the board and all others who have pledged in advance today, because as you can see on Nancy Boffa's amazing pledge progress graphic, we already have $24,920 pledged to get us started. So thanks to the board and everybody else who pledged already. Thanks also to those of you who attended the financial information session after church last week. We will have another one next week, so please plan on attending if you are new to pledging, have not pledged in recent years, or just want to learn more about church finances. And now you'll hear from Matt Bajoun about why his family pledges. Defy gravity.
David's going to do the flying. Good morning. My name is Matt Bajoun. I am a Unitarian Universalist. I give to UUCW because I endorse and believe in the 7, now 8, UU principles. Like many of us here today, I wasn't always a UU. I was baptized and raised Catholic. I attended church religiously, very religiously as I look back at my experience today. I was an altar boy who had serious intentions of becoming a priest. So serious were my intentions that I transferred to a Catholic high school so I could study religion each day in preparation of my future vocation. And further, I shunned a romantic relationship or two in anticipation of my imagined life as a priest with a vow of celibacy. I was all in, or so I thought. What was I thinking? As you can see, I did not become a priest, nor did I pledge a vow of celibacy. In fact, I did not even choose to become confirmed in the Catholic Church, a choice I made to better understand what it meant to be confirmed and not just continuing the path that was put before me by my elders. I investigated and explored the faith I was born into as I grew older. The more I paid attention, the more I realized that Catholic dogma, as exemplified in the Nicene Creed recited by Catholics around the world every day at Mass, was not and could not be my worldview. I did, however, continue to dabble in Catholicism. About 25 years ago, I chose to observe Lent, a 40-day period of fasting practiced to become closer to God and perhaps also to fellow people of the world. And I chose to give up eating meat for 40 days. It was not a trivial task, as I had eaten meat all of my life, but I found vegetarianism to be pretty cool. And at the end of my 40-day period, I chose to continue not eating meat. I also chose to give up Catholicism. I'm pretty sure this is not one of the intended outcomes of Lent. But I'm no longer a Catholic, so I don't know. After growing apart from the Catholic faith I was raised within and making the decision to leave the church, what did I do? Well, not much in retrospect. I didn't rush out to find a replacement for my Catholic faith. I found I could live a moral and just life without the allure of or promise of heaven and the threats of hell. I didn't find a religion or a congregation to call my own, as I wasn't seeking a religion or a congregation until I found, or more correctly, Kate found, UU, which I'm happy to call my new spiritual home. Why UU? Well, for me, I continue to be amazed by and inspired by the UU principles. Take out the pew cards in front of you and remind yourself of the principles. There's a little card, it's the 8 principles. The principles are rock solid. Look at number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Sounds pretty good. Number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. I can stand behind that one. Number 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And the newest principle, number 8, we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. These are principles I can stand by and live by. I pledge money to UUCW in support of these principles and in support of the actions needed to realize the principles. I encourage you to do the same.
Whether we feel like our values are under attack, whether we feel like our identity is being challenged, no matter what emotional response we have to the world around us and the views of others, I think there is an invitation tacit in our spiritual path to remove the armor that we carry around our hearts and to show up in the world with the full measure of who we are. It is not an easy task. It is a practice, and we keep working on that practice. We keep noticing the moments when we met the zeitgeist, the now, with elegance, and we notice the moments when we did not do so. And we hold each with tenderness because we are continuing to work on our practice of being loving people. This is called Let It Breathe, a song I wrote about 18 months ago based on a haiku that a friend sent me. Lay down your weapons, love has you surrounded. There is no easy way out. Lay down your shield, let your heart break just a little. Let love remove all doubt. You go through the world, everybody's sweetheart, keeping up a front that wears you down. But in a quiet moment, the truth comes out. Some days you feel like you're about to drown. So lay down your weapons, love has you surrounded. There is no easy way out. Lay down your shield, let your heart break just a little. Let love remove all doubt. There is no reason to play this charade. You can be loved for who you are. And for every troubled thought that crosses your mind, please know that you are someone else's shining star. So lay down your weapons, love has you surrounded. There is no easy way out. Lay down your shield, let your heart break. Lay down your shield, let your heart break just a little. Let love remove all doubt. What do you need? By what measure would you know that you are more than what you achieve? When you look in the mirror, is it possible to see that you are enough? So let it breathe. And lay down your weapons, love has you surrounded. No easy way out. There is no easy way out. Lay down your shield, let your heart break. Lay down your shield, let your heart break just a little. Let love remove all doubt. Lay down your weapons. Lay down your weapons, love has you surrounded. There is no easy way out. Lay down your shield, let your heart break. Lay down your shield, let your heart break just a little. Let love remove all doubt. To the lovely gentleman managing our tech in the back, Frank, can you bring the volume back up? The volume seems to keep doing this thing where it's up and down and up and down. If we could set it at a static level, and if I could ask you to trust me to lean in or step away from the microphone as I need to control the space, that would be great. Thank you. What a privilege it is to be here today, to share and worship with you. I was not yet a Unitarian Universalist when I first walked through those doors into this sanctuary. It was on a Martin Luther King weekend, and I was here to sing a few songs, and I asked Reverend Aaron Payson's permission to tell a story before one of the songs. And he came up to me afterwards, and he said, I'd like you here next year on this same weekend. Only next year, you're going to be in the pulpit, and I'm going to sit out there and listen. And I said, no, you got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy. He said, nope, I got the right guy. I know it when I see it. And that began for me a journey toward deeper understanding of my own spiritual path. And it wove me in so many places across North America through the Unitarian and Universalist traditions. And I realized that for me, there was no discontinuity between my religious upbringing and what I found in these communities. It was simply another growth ring on the tree. It did not negate all of the beautiful things I carried with me from being raised Catholic, but it was the next obvious step in growth into a belief system that I had had since I was a young person, which is that if there is a God, the very nature of that divine entity is beyond the capacity of humans to quantify. And therefore, we do not necessarily need that God looking over our shoulder to invite us to do the right thing. We will do the right thing because we live together in beloved community, and we continue to practice, however imperfectly. We continue to practice that desire, that goal, to be with each other in a loving fashion. And as I have continued over the last 23 years to explore the depth and breadth of the Universalist and Unitarian traditions, I have found a home that I would not have expected to find if you had told me that I would be a part of a different organized religion. I thought I was done with organized religion. And some would make the case that Unitarian Universalism is slightly disorganized religion, but nonetheless, here we are. In Buddhism, there is the notion of the third way, or the middle path. When presented with dichotomies, when presented with didactic or polarized thinking, there is the notion that there is always another way to slalom through that pathway. There is a story that I love. Some of you may have stumbled upon this at different times in your life, but I keep coming back to it because it teaches me something every time I say it. There were two monks that were traveling from one monastery to another. One was an elder monk, and yet he was a novice. There was a younger monk who was a very ardent convert to Buddhism, also a novice, but deeply concerned with practicing the letter of the law as depicted in the Buddhist traditions and in their monastic order. And one of their tenets was that they would not have physical contact with members of the opposite gender. Probably 2,500 years ago, having less understanding of gender fluidity than we do at the time, there was a certain understanding of duality in the teachings of that era 2,500 years ago. But male monks were not allowed to have physical contact with females. But they came to a small tributary that had swollen with floodwaters, and a young girl who was extraordinarily distraught. She needed to carry a message to a neighboring village about a loss in the family, and she didn't know how to swim. And she was used to being able to walk across this stream, but now it was too much for her. And the elder of the two monks, without reservation, picked her up, placed her on his shoulders, and carried her across the stream, set her down, and she said thank you and went on her way. The monks walked in silence for a couple of miles. But the elder monk could tell that the younger one was fuming. He was furious. And finally, the elder monk said, "Brother, have you something to say?" And he went on a tirade about how could this man have lived so long and not have come to understand the tenets of their order, and he had touched a female, and on and on and on. And after listening respectfully for some time, the elder monk turned to the younger monk and said, "Brother, I left the girl by the river. Why are you still carrying her?" There was a third path. There was a middle path that involved placing human integrity and kindness and compassion above the letter of the law. It involved meeting the moment with flexibility, responding graciously, and then moving on. The middle path recognized that when we get stuck in dualistic thinking, that it can be one way or another, but never somewhere in between, that we will not carry things forward in the ways that we would like. Buddhism is full of parables that dive into these middle paths. The Christian Gospels are full of parables that equally explore what we might look at through the lens of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or Kohlberg's stages of moral development, where we see in parallel a religious and a secular understanding of the needs that must be met for people to step beyond rigid thinking and into more flexible thinking. And when basic needs are not being met, it's very hard to invite people into deeper, broader, more ethereal conversations. They don't have the bandwidth. And yet, we have to evolve to that place as a society, or remain forever stuck in a particular cycle. The middle path is not easy to discern or find sometimes. It may feel like a tug of war. And yet we are called as Unitarian Universalists. We are called as humanists. We are called as those concerned with civil rights and social justice. We are called to meet the moment by finding a middle path. There is not only one middle path, there are usually many. But we are called to be the kind of people who are flexible enough to find a middle path that will allow us to move things forward. And I can only speak for myself in this regard, but it is incredibly difficult to remain in my center at the moment. It is incredibly difficult to figure out how to remain engaged with the world and how to preserve my own wellness at the same time. And yet we have to find a way to do both. For my part, I would say pragmatically that I limit my consumption of news media. I tend to read as much as I'm able rather than using my ears, which are kind of the center of my consciousness. As a musician, what I hear carries more weight for me sometimes even than what I see with my eyes. So I'm cautious about not letting certain voices directly into my head. I'm cautious about how much I allow the sensationalism of the world around me to manage or dictate the mood that I'm in. I choose to greet the morning and see the blue skies and the sunshine and be grateful. Martin Luther King invites us in these opening words to stay awake. And I wonder sometimes, what does that mean, to stay awake? There's an obvious jump-off point from the words of King into a word that was used for a long time in black culture in the United States, the word woke. But it was not something that one would take upon themselves. You can't knight yourself in King Arthur's court. It is bestowed upon you as a recognized ally to the community. And woke was a word that was given to people who were proven allies to the African American communities in the United States. It was an honorific that said this person sees the bigger picture, this person witnesses the oppression, This person is here to be with us in the struggle. And this has turned into such a buzzword in our society. And I find it really unsettling because as it's been turned into a thing, it has lost the core understanding that was present in the first use of this word in this context, which was to recognize those whose hearts were big enough to witness and still stay present with suffering, to witness injustice and stay present in the community and in the world long enough to help affect positive change. I don't know where we go from here with that, but I do continue to take the invitation of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to remain awake through periods of great social change, to choose not to be a part of the fraternities of the indifferent and those who are preservationists for the status quo, to find a way to walk that path while not being didactic or polarizing. That is, I think, the practice in the moment. And it doesn't mean that you're soft on one thing or soft on another, or that you're not committed to the journey. It means that you have become a pragmatist and that you want to find a way, find a path that will allow you to franchise as many allies as possible in the work. Doesn't matter who somebody voted for, doesn't matter what the bumper sticker is on their car, in the context of saying if they are willing to show up and work with you at the soup kitchen, if they are willing to show up on a Saturday with a box of tools and help you build a house for Habitat for Humanity, if they are opening their wallet and giving in the community in ways that are useful, we have to find a way to transcend the polarizing, sensationalized, popular politics in order to be present with each other and keep moving things forward. That was the work yesterday. It's the work today. It will be the work tomorrow. To show up in the world as engaged pragmatists. To show up in the world as we are able and do the things that need to be done. Mohandas Gandhi talked a great deal about not complying with the expectations of the oppressor. At the time he said that, he was speaking specifically of the Raj in India, of the British government of the subcontinent. And he was encouraging people not to engage in violence. He was a strict adherent to nonviolent resistance, to nonviolent means of transformation. But he was very clear that nonviolence and pacifism should not be understood to be the same thing. They are different things. Nonviolent resistance requires proactive engagement in the world. And one of his most significant contributions to the liberation of India happened when in early 1930, he realized that the salt tax in India was nearly 10% of the GDP that the Raj was extracting from India, that the colonial government was taking from India, because everybody had to buy salt. It's a hot climate. You need to replace electrolytes and minerals in the body. And especially the Dalits, what at the time were referred to as untouchables, language which Gandhi flatly rejected. The Dalits were working basically as day laborers in most parts of India and surrendering a disproportionate amount of their income to buy salt so that they would survive being physical laborers in such harsh conditions. And Gandhi had spent years trying to franchise the Dalit community, a little over 50% of the population of the subcontinent. He spent decades trying to figure out how to franchise the Dalits into the movement for liberation. And when he discovered that a defiance of the salt tax would most benefit Dalits, he suddenly had a whole new community of people with him in the struggle for liberation. Their attitude had been previously, new boss, same as the old boss, to quote Pete Townsend and The Who. what's the difference? Whether there's home rule for India or foreign rule of India, we are stuck in the same disenfranchised place. But when Gandhi figured out this piece about the salt tax and then led the Salt March in 1930 from his ashram 246 miles down to the ocean northeast of Mumbai, and they made evaporative sea salt and had a month-long festival seaside where they continued to sing and dance and pray and make evaporative sea salt. This was disallowed by the Raj because they wanted to use salt as a form of social control. If they had a tax on salt, which everybody needed, then nobody had expendable income at the lowest tier. That their particular iteration of capitalism combined with colonialism had a expendable, disposable class, which was required for their economic model. And if they stopped paying the salt tax, they had that much more money for other things. And that's why evaporative sea salt was illegal. But Gandhi led this march, and even the Raj did not understand the impact of this choice. They were usually fairly quick to arrest Gandhi for acts of civil disobedience. And yet they saw the fragile mystic walking to the ocean, singing songs and leading people in yet one more march, one more form of protest. And it took them 6 or 8 weeks to get around to arresting him. They let the kerfuffle die down, and then they finally got him. But by that time, it was too late. The notion of making evaporative sea salt as a form of civil disobedience took off like wildfire in India. But at its heart, it was not so much civil disobedience as economic disobedience, consumer disobedience, commercial disobedience. Only the entity controlling commerce was the civil government. When we look at our own society in 2025, we see that in many cases it is not the civil authority that is the seat of power. It is commerce and those who pull the levers of the economic engines that hold the power. And so I call this example out because I think there is a middle path here for affecting societal change that can be nonviolent, that franchises many people who may not see themselves as activists or organizers, and that has a pragmatic impact on helping people who are struggling. And that is for us to figure out in the moment, what does economic disobedience look like? I chose during the first presidency of the current president to not pay taxes. I put them in the bank. I took a page out of Thoreau's handbook. I discovered that tax withholding as a form of social protest can become exceedingly expensive. And as an independently employed musician, I probably will choose a different way of asserting my value system moving forward. And yet there was kind of a miraculous moment when I received some hate mail from the IRS, and I called the phone number that was listed, and I got passed around and finally was put on hold and given a code number and told, if you hang up, this code is invalid. It's good for only 2 hours. You must stay on the phone until you are offered a prompt and then punch in this number. And I knew that I was climbing the ladder at the IRS and getting pretty far up there. And I finally got to a woman who said, wait a minute. You are not paying taxes as a form of social protest. I said, yes. I put the money in the bank. As soon as the next president's in, I will get current. She said, okay, I'll make a note in your file. That was it. 10 days into the next administration. On the 30th of January, I received a letter from the IRS that said, okay. I mean, it didn't really say new administration, time to pay up, but that was kind of the read between the lines. And I thought, wow, that's impressive. I found an ally at the IRS. I couldn't find her again if I tried, but I found an ally that day by speaking my truth. And I think she was compassionate about it. Whether or not she agreed, she understood. And she put a little note in my file, and the howlers stopped coming from the Ministry of Magic. until there was a new administration, at which point I got current on 5 years of back taxes in the spring of 2021. I say this because while being inspired by the life of a man who lived not too far from here, to engage in a very particular kind of civil disobedience, taken from the ideas of someone whose words inspired that very notion in the world. Thoreau was the very first person that I am aware of to put in print the idea of civil disobedience. And he inspired many people through that. Not to put him on a particular pedestal, he had the illusion that he was living in the wilderness while being close enough to his mother's house that he could carry laundry to her house and have her do the wash for him. So, you know, there are certain aspects of the narrative that we tell around Walden and around Thoreau that are a little bit off. But one of my favorite stories is when he was in jail for tax evasion as a form of social protest. And Emerson showed up to post bail for him and said, "What's the matter? You have money. Why aren't you paying your taxes? Why are you in jail?" And Thoreau's response was, "Why aren't you in here with me? You have more money than I do. You should be protesting with me. You know, this should be a thing that we do." And so each of us have to decide what the pragmatic choice is. If I had dependent children in my life or a dependent partner, choosing tax protest as a form of response to the system would probably not be the smartest choice. For me at this point, it probably wouldn't be the smartest choice. Now I've compromised. I send the IRS money every year, but I never explain why. I'll get around to it soon enough. But I have found as long as you give them a reasonable sum of money every year, the hate mail stays away. They just occasionally send a letter that say, "Oh, we have credited your account with this much money. Gosh, it would be lovely to understand why." But as long as the money keeps rolling in, they're pretty gracious about it. So that's been my compromise and my middle path on that particular issue. But I invite all of us to consider, what is the middle path in this way? What is the middle path in this time? Do we need people marching in the streets? Yes. Do we need rallies? Do we need letter writing campaigns? Yes. We also need self-care. We also need to make sure that we do not diminish ourselves in a sprint when what needs to happen is that we are all training for a marathon. And it will be a marathon. This is not a 1,000-yard dash. This is, at best, a relay race that is the length of a marathon, where we can hand the baton to another person and take a breath, and then go back and take the baton from somebody else and carry that one forward. But make no mistake, we are in a marathon, and therefore we need to pace ourselves and not spend all of our emotional energy in one fell swoop of outrage. But we have to stay connected to the longevity of the work. I want to read you a quote from Barack Obama from his Nobel lecture, December 10th, 2009. "The promotion of human rights cannot be about exhortation alone. At times it must be coupled with painstaking diplomacy. I know that engagement with repressive regimes lacks the satisfying purity of indignation. But I also know that sanctions without outreach, condemnation without discussion, can carry forward only a crippling status quo. No repressive regime can move down a new path unless it has the choice of an open door." I can't read that now without getting teary, because in 2009, President Obama was speaking about nuclear powers advancing in the Middle East. He was speaking about finding peaceable solutions to problems that were elsewhere, and he was speaking about systems of government that were non-democratic in other parts of the world. I read this quote today, 16 years later, and I see something very, very different. I know that engagement with repressive regimes lacks the satisfying purity of indignation. But I also know that sanctions without outreach, condemnation without discussion, can carry forward only a crippling status quo. No repressive regime can move down a new path unless it has the choice of an open door. I don't know what that open door looks like when I am listening to people speak and I have to reach for my memories of studying Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I choose not to walk backward down the ladder, but keep reaching up. I choose not to go back to a place where no matter how much some base instinct in me wants to punch somebody squarely in the nose, I recognize that that is not useful behavior. I committed myself at 13 years old to nonviolence. I was the biggest kid by far in my elementary school and middle school. And as I was leaving middle school and entering high school, I decided that I was done using my fists to solve problems, that I was going to use my mind and my heart to solve problems. And I eventually figured out how to use music to address some of those things. A good synergy of mind and heart. Excuse me. But the last time I threw a punch, I was 13 years old. And then I began reading about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and then I walked backwards into the work and the ideas of Mohandas Gandhi, and I worked backwards from there through Tolstoy into Henry David Thoreau's ideas about civil disobedience. And I thought, okay, there are other ways to respond. I don't have to respond by fighting for what's right. I can work for it. More to the point, I can build a coalition of other people who will work with me on this journey. I'm going to give you a couple of thoughts about what it looks like to organize in these times, and then I have a song for you. I've been thinking about this on and off since I was in my early 20s and first became part of a trade union. I was a school bus driver for a hot minute and became a probationary Teamster. I immediately found Teamsters for a Democratic Union, a subset of the Teamsters that was kind of a revolutionary force within a monolithic institution of labor, working to transform their union and support other unions that were trying to transform their unions into more democratic and engaged entities. But the organizing lessons are the same. Whether we're organizing a spiritual community, organizing a bake sale, organizing a social protest, organizing a political campaign, organizing to build a house, or to help someone in the neighborhood. The core principles are the same. What do I need? I reject martyrdom in activism and engagement. I reject the notion that we should see ourselves as expendable or disposable. So any question about community engagement or activism, I think, needs to begin with, what do I need? That is not a selfish question. It is a sustainability question. Because if we do not know our own hearts, if we don't know how to understand our own needs and own them, then we run the risk of having needs that go unmet and bending our wider world activities into meeting those unacknowledged needs. So begin with the idea that you have a right to have needs. If you are a human being, you have needs. The Constitution says we hold these truths to be self-evident, and it lists a set of ideas that all are created equal. It said all men, but we'll push past that for the moment. What do I need? What does my community need? Sometimes what I need and what my community needs will be the same thing. Sometimes they will be at odds. What is my evidence that this is what I need, or this is what the community needs? Sometimes we're really busy projecting our needs on community because it's more noble if we declare it a community need, but it's okay to just have a need and advocate for it. It's okay to witness a need in community and communicate about that with each other. So it's good to move forward with evidence that this is a need in the community, to cross-reference it with other people. Am I the right person to address this issue? Also a good question. You may see a need, but not be the person best suited to address it. Is there someone else in the community who could address this issue well? How do I support and help develop their leadership and their capacity to take on leadership in this way? And 7 in this list of points, certainly among, I see them all as having equal value, but I think this is particularly important. How will I know when the objectives have been met? How will I know when the need has been met? And if it appears that it is not being met, go back to the beginning. What do I need? What does the community need? What is my evidence that this is a community need? How do I build a coalition of support for addressing this need? It's a pragmatic guide to organizing anything, but it begins with an acknowledgement of self and the role of self as connected to community. And as we think about training for the marathon, we have to recognize when we have not yet cultivated the capacity or the stamina to run that marathon in one day, that we do shorter runs, we do shorter walks, we pace ourselves, sometimes running, sometimes walking, sometimes resting, because the goal is not to be the fastest person. The goal is to still be standing at the end of the marathon in community with others. The goal is to keep moving forward. And so I offer you those thoughts to roll with, to consider in your own life. What are those needs? How do you address them? How do you support that there is a clear expression of that need? How do you organize the community to work to meet that need? And how do you assess if the need is being met? These are important ideas, and I encourage you to sit with them, think about them. I'm happy to send these to Mara, who will, I'm sure, send this notion out into the community. I don't claim any patent on this or copyright. These are just ideas that I have gleaned from over 30 years of community engagement and organizing. And I come back to the notion that music is one of the great healing things, and that my choice on this journey to dedicate myself to music as a healing form is essential, because we will not get to the end of the marathon if we are not well nourished. What do I need? I need to sing. I need to hear you sing. I need to know, like the birds sounding in the trees that are chirping out to each other, just saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, chirp, 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 chirloo, chirly, I'm here. We sing together and we are reminded on a visceral level that we are not alone. And if we are together, we can fashion a solution to whatever problem arises. I will keep singing while the world turns. I will keep singing as the human heart yearns. May there be dancing every step of the way. I will keep singing to the end of my days. That'll come around again. How can I stand here singing when the world is at war? People are starving and we wonder what for. But I will keep raising my voice to the sky. I'll sing out my questions, never stop asking why. I will keep singing, and I will keep singing while the world turns. And I will keep singing as the human heart yearns. May there be dancing every step of the way. I will keep singing till the end of my days. Like people before us, all the world round, have raised up their voices in glorious sound, singing the journey, the sorrow and pain. We will keep singing this joyous refrain. I will keep singing, and I will keep singing while the world turns. I will keep singing. I will keep, as the human heart yearns. May there be dancing. May there be dancing every step of the way. I will keep singing. I will keep singing till the end of my days. It's not a solution to the struggles we face, but it gives us the courage to keep up the pace. When hope seems to vanish, don't know what to do. If we keep singing, it will carry us through. I will keep singing, and I will keep singing while the world turns. I will keep singing as the human heart yearns. May there be dancing every step of the way. I will keep singing till the end of my days. There's hope for the future right here in this room. Inside of each person, potential that blooms. When gathered together, we become a bouquet. Our beauty will shine on and brighten the way. I will keep singing. I will keep while the world turns. While the world turns, I will keep as the human heart yearns. As the human heart, may there be dancing. May there be dancing every step of the way. And I will keep singing till the end of my days. May there be dancing every step of the way. And I will keep singing till the end of my days. Life flows on in endless song, above earth's lamentation. I hear that real though far off hymn that hails the new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear that music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roll, I hear the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me flows, songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love is Lord of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing. Since love is Lord of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing?
A particular thanks to Maya and Andrew today for the offertory and me getting a little off rhythm with collecting the plates, but I want to thank you for your generosity and point out that, in fact, the Walden excerpt that I adapted is followed by the following, which Joe alluded to. One afternoon near the end of the first summer, when I went to the village to get a shoe from the cobblers, I was seized and put into jail because, as I have elsewhere related, I did not pay a tax to or recognize the authority of the state, which buys and sells men, women, and children like cattle at the door of its Senate House. Thank you for your contributions to this congregation, your support of this congregation. We do make a difference with our contributions. And now, I'd like to invite you to consider what is deepest in your hearts, or most profoundly on our minds, or in the work of our hands in the days that have transpired, or in the days to come. Sorrows and joys which touch us deeply and are given another measure of meaning because we share them in the midst of a company that claims us as co-journeyers. Those of you who have a joy or sorrow to share can form lines on either side of the sanctuary, and I'll have a microphone in the center in just a minute. Tell us first who you are so that we can get to know you better. And if you're online, please share, as announced at the beginning, in the chat, preceded by please read. You can light a candle with or without a verbal sharing. And it just gives me joy to be here with you all and with Joe in our midst. Okay, sorry, thanks. Okay, now it's on.
Hi, I'm Susan Crosley, and today is my daughter Zoe's birthday. My baby girl is 34 years old. Oh, this is the kid that I thought would never, move on. She was in my bed till she was 7. She just, whatever. So now she has actually circumnavigated the whole world, and she's done just so much. So I just wanted to say happy birthday to Zoe. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mara Pentlarge, and my highlight was that sermon. Thank you so much. There's my district city councilor at Tallahatchie is facing, nastiness. So I started an email while you were talking. How can I support you?
Diane has full permission to break the announcement rule because I forgot to insert her where I told her I would.
No problem. Who had fun last night? The Cool Beans Coffee House was a great success. I want to thank the following people again: Robin and the youth group, Sue Nees, who helped recruit some acts from afar, Naziah Billiar and Haley Newton, the MCs, Paul Marr and Frank Sweetser on tech, and all the others who supported. I want to especially thank Matt Johnson, who did yeoman's work, and to all the others of you who performed. At this moment, and we're still counting, we raised a little over $1,600.
First, the good news. My daughter's in the drama club at her high school, and she had a competition piece yesterday. 99 schools competed in the drama, forgetting the name. Anyway, 99 schools competed, and her school was one of the schools that made it to semis. So in 2 weeks, she was one of the secondary leads, and she also got a special award for that. So, and she didn't think she did well at all, but goes to show, she's not the only one judging this. I also have a concern. I'm asking for prayers for my long-term neighbor, Siva Narahari, for his family. They have a serious medical issues going on right now, and it's all of my Indian neighbors are coming back who have lived in the neighborhood past 20 years and moved away. They're all coming back to have final moments with this family. So please keep them in your thoughts.
So my name is Chris Horton, and I've hung around the edge of this community for some time, but never committed to it. And I stand here with a very heavy heart. I have written off and said goodbye to a friend in need because he has shown himself to be someone I cannot trust. And it is something that I see all around me. People, good people who just give in to their own needs and give in to drugs. And he was someone who fought for his family's home for 3 hard years and did so with great courage and strength. His family is 4 generations of his family in one building. And he was one of the leaders in the fight, and he has stood with me in many blockades to save other people's homes, and volunteered and worked hard, and finally he and his partner moved on to another town where they could find housing because there was nothing here for them. And I found him again. He was in a desperate situation again, and I invited him to come back and to be part of our community of people all fighting the foreclosures. And he took my car, and I didn't see him or the car again for almost 2 months. And when I found him again, the car didn't work anymore. And then he did that again to someone else in our community. He was just going to take the car overnight in order to show up and bring some people with him to another blockade. And he didn't show up. And he didn't seem to understand the disasters he was causing in other people or in the world. And my agony is he's still looking for love, and he's looking for someone to care about him, someone to take care of him, to understand him. And I can't. I don't have time. I don't have space. I've had to say goodbye to him. And how do I do that?
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to say goodbye. The kids need us to finish up.
Okay, but thank you. So, I just want to say one sentence. I can hear his voice and the voice of other people saying that I don't really care about people, that I'm just take people into my world because of what use they can be. And yet, how could it be otherwise? And how do I live with that?
Thank you for sharing. My name is Courtney Brooks, and I have a quick joy, although I was also brought up Catholic, which I believe is the same for a bunch of us. And saying joy is like crippling a little bit. I don't know if I deserve it or whatnot. Anyway, I thought, I was a little concerned when I heard that Aaron was going on sabbatical, because I thought, like, with all the substitutes, like, who's actually going to be here? And I just want to say thank you, because you're all here. And this settles me every week when I'm unsettled when I'm not here. So thank you very much for helping me with resilience and fortitude. And so thank you for showing up, and thank you for keep showing up. And that's it.
Good morning. My name is Dawn Dowd. I have the honor of sharing joys and sorrows for our online community. Linda Morris has asked that we light a candle in memory of Elizabeth Morse Bradley. And E.J. Neal shares, "Hi, I have joy thanks to UUCW community. My mom and I moved here a few months ago, and we were regularly visiting. However, due to illness and my work schedule, we stopped. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for making us feel welcomed, and we promise to return soon so we can better get to know you all." And I also wanted to share a joy. I loved singing last night, so Diane, thank you so much for giving us space to do that. And I want to thank the congregation for giving me a space to feel safe doing that, because it's something I haven't done ever. So thanks.
I've lit one more candle for all those joys and sorrows and special thoughts that remain within us and unspoken today. Spirit of life and love, we pause this morning to reflect on those things which continue to touch us deeply in sadness and in gladness, in struggle and in peace.
Matt, that was possibly the most beautiful interpretation of Spirit of Life that I've ever heard. That was just delicate. You could feel the Spirit of Life flowing through the room. Thank you. These words, closing words found on the backside of the Order of Service from Rabindranath Tagore, the first non-European to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature, and the first lyricist. For those who would argue that Bob Dylan was the first one, he was not. It was Rabindranath Tagore more than a century ago, the poet of Bengal. These words speak to me very deeply. Please forgive the gendered language. It seemed a disservice to change a writing that was as significant as this out of the poet's original words. But he was a deeply inclusive man. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms toward perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. If you would please join with me in singing a song many of you may not know the name of, but you will recognize that the only significant change is that instead of singing Smile on Your Brother, we sing Smile on Each Other. Are we still in the ballpark, Matt? Good enough. Love is but a song we sing, and fear's the way we die. If you feel like you sing better standing up, feel free to do so. You can make the mountains rain, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, and you may not know why. Come on, people, smile on each other. Come on, people, now. Smile on each other, everybody, yeah. And this benediction, written specifically for the Unitarian Universalist communities by yours truly, because I wanted something that captured the sentiment of the traditional Hebrew scriptural benediction, but was more accessible to people. These words: I wish you peace and every blessing on your journey as you learn to cherish each and every day. May your tears be those of healing. May your laughter bring you joy. May true love be your companion on the way. I wish you peace and every blessing. I wish you peace and every blessing on your journey as you learn to cherish each and every day. To cherish each and every day. May your tears be those of healing. May your laughter bring you joy. May true love be your companion on the way. One more time, I wish you peace. I wish you peace and every blessing. And every blessing on your journey as you learn to cherish each and every day. To cherish each and every day. May your tears be those of healing. May your laughter bring you joy. May true love be your companion on the way. May your tears be those of healing. May your laughter bring you joy. May true love be your companion on the way. I will also note that I'll be back here on the 27th of April with my friend Deirdre McCullough, giving a concert in this space. Thank you, Matt, for working with us to do that. And I look forward to seeing you again. And thank you for being one of my spiritual homes the last 23 years. I had no idea the first time I walked through the doors of this sanctuary, the length and breadth and depth of connection that would evolve between me and this congregation. It is always an honor to be here with you on a Sunday morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for coming, for staying, for giving us the longest service in the sabbatical, and making us all happy for it. Our service has ended, our worship has ended, and our service continues with a few brief announcements, but please make yourselves available to leave as you are able. There's no holding you here.
Game night on Friday. Come. It's 6 to 8:30. There's a registration if you want pizza. Just come.
Game night. Okay, everybody, we're free to go.